This is the Divine Soul Rebel podcast, brought to you by Elisabeth de Charon de Saint-Germain and Martina Mazzetti. A divine soul rebel freely, unapologetically expresses herself. She thrives by authenticity, freedom, love, joy, compassion, and abundance in all she is and does. In this monthly podcast, Martina and Elisabeth share their voices and experiences with their divine soul rebel sisters to bring clarity, fun, lightness, teachings, and empowerment from the individual journeys to share it with you, divine soul sister rebel. Hi, my name is Elisabeth de Charon de Saint-Germain. I'm the founder of Liberate and Express, and I was born with the heart of a trailblazer and the gifts of a shaman and a mystic. I'm also a recovered burned out empath, a workaholic and a people-pleasing superwoman. I now am a singer whose energies transmutes and coacts with my spirit team, with nature and with the spirits of music. I'm a fierce space holder who embodies the frequency of joy in all circumstances, especially when I work with the sacred rebels that I guide as a holistic singing pedagogue, a mystic, an energy healer, and a feminine leadership coach. I guide them to find their inner voice and into the finding and opening up to the medicine of their own voice and full soul expression.
Hi, I'm Martina and Elisabeth. I'm a master intuitive energy healer, teacher, and a feminine embodiment coach. I've made it my mission to empower and inspire women globally in a radical, powerful love journey as a divine rebel, stepping into the divine feminine power through embodiment and doing the inner work through mindset reprogramming and aligned actions. Because you are a magical, limitless being and you are here for a reason. And I'm here to support those divine rebels to tap into your own uniqueness and becoming unapologetically yourself and to shine your light and your love.
Hello and welcome by the Divine Soul Rebel podcast, episode 5 with Martina and Elisabeth. And we're going to have a very interesting conversation about gardening in the sense of Bridgerton. So everybody who has watched Bridgerton, Queen Charlotte, will undoubtedly know what it means to want to be gardened well. And so, in a way, we had a little talk before about what is it? Why do we need this gardening, and what does it mean? And I've written a little story that will be published in another book with a couple of other women, and which was called Call Back the Goddess. And I think this is where we're going, what this episode is going to be about. What is this power, this deeply creative power that brings out our inner goddess? And how does she, when she shows up, why do we need her? And she, when you miss her or when she is coming up, you will notice it within your work, how you're working, how you're showing up. You will notice it within your intimacy. Is it truly satisfying? Is it giving you all the pleasure and all the power that it can give you, all the energy, all the joy of life? And also, your inner goddess can give you access to the sacred rage that lives within you, that is here to give you really healthy boundaries, but it's also here to to help you set free all the boundaries that have been placed upon women, that you really, really no longer need. It's not in service, and somewhere in there, your inner goddess knows how to access that rage to create the room, the space that you need in order to become, to find that authentic soul, to that liberating power, and also to defend others who need you. So that's the introduction. I will share the story later on, but I really want to give the word to Martina right now.
Thank you, dear. And it's so funny that we started with giggling while we were talking and thinking about all the episodes we've seen of Bridgerton, right? And it's and what I feel this is all about is being and becoming all of you. And all of us has so many aspects, so many layers, so many depths, and maybe we as women are just on the top of the iceberg now, where we are and who we are and who we want to be and who we truly are, right? And this is such an interesting, wide, can be as well really vulnerable, strong subject. And what I felt like when growing up as a little girl, I didn't want to be a girl at all. I just wanted to be a boy, because what I saw and what I felt around me always had so much more freedom. And I grew up in the West, right? In the Netherlands, where children, girls and boys have so much freedom. And I know that in a lot of parts in the world, it's still in 2023 so different. So don't get me wrong. I know that I was really lucky where I was born. But still, I found that the boys could play wild, the boys could scream, the boys could, get dirty when they were playing. They didn't have to behave as much as girls. And people were saying like, oh, that's a boy. You know how boys are. Oh, let them be. And that didn't apply for me as a girl. I had to behave and I had to dress up with nice ponytails or some braid or whatever. And I hated it. I just wanted to scream wildly. And I remember one time, because I always loved playing outside, one time with a group of boys, we were making a fire outside in some bush area. And it got out of hand. And it got really out of hand that the firefighters had to come because there was a lot of fire. And I remember the excitement and just, exploring and just having fun and cooperation. And it didn't matter that I was a girl between all the boys. And then later on, I think I was about 10, my mom needed to come to school because my teacher was worried I was only playing with boys again. And later on, when I was playing basketball on a high level, I like to play with the boys more than with the girls. But shit, I'm born this lifetime as a girl, right? So how does this work? How does this divine rebel goddess within me wants to explore as a woman, not trying or attending to be a boy or a man, because I'm not. So maybe I'm getting a bit off topic, but this was popping up with all of you, and there are so many parts that are all of us, right?
Yeah. Can I share something?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
The funny thing is, we've known each other quite a while, and I've never knew this from you. When I
Really?
was little, people thought that I was a boy because
Hmm.
I was very much I was not the girly girl, but I was not
Hmm.
also a boy, but I looked like a boy.
Hmm.
And and I was really like there was no difference for me being a boy or a girl. I just thought I am who I am. I was not thinking about am I a boy or not. I was a fervent reader, and I always um, thought of myself as the boys in that story or the male heroes. I was never the woman um, who stayed home. I was the knight who went out and did all things. I was the cowboy on movies. I was the hero going out slaying dragons. I never thought of myself as different. And then
Hmm.
and I was climbing trees and all kinds of stuff. And then and by the baker they always said, "Hey, young man," and they would really laugh in my face when I had this diadem on, and people thought like I was a boy with a ponytail, like ha ha ha. Look at that
But
boy.
you were dressing up, right?
I was having some, but it's still my
Mm.
face apparently looked so much like a boy, and I had apparently my present was that of a boy. And I think it was also a little bit like that, what you said is sort of what I still have this sort of, well, I'm just doing my thing, which
Mm.
not a lot of girls had at that time.
Mm.
Was if I want to go out and go on my bike and have a just I was not into asking. I just did it.
Mm.
So I was not so yeah. So that was I really think it's interesting that how that works, that you and I are on this podcast talking about this, and this comes up right now. The first time I really noticed, oh,
We would we
I'm
would have been such good friends
I think
if we
so.
knew each other back then and lived in the same area, right? Wow.
And then I
Mm.
think that's the whole point of it was just when I started menstruating, having my period, my first period, that I got all these very intense emotions.
Mm.
I
How
thought,
old were you?
what? Just 13. I was
Okay.
quite late, happily, because I was still in my half.
Climbing trees.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, that's we went off a little bit of that, but it is about the role. I think what you are referring to is the role of are you a human being? And can you say yes to being a woman? And is
Mm.
that different? And I know that there are many people these days who are really feel that that both of they have a female and a masculine spirit in there.
Hmm.
I feel that as well. I'm in that
Yes, that is so
really
true.
weird. But
We both have.
I really identify at this point, really, I identify and I'm really happy that I'm a woman because my body invites me to experience stuff that I normally would not have. Sometimes
Hmm.
when I'm in the middle of having my period, all the hormones are quite low, right?
Mm.
And then when there's this testosterone uprising straight after your period, I'm feeling so damn fine. That's when you have the most masculine energy. It's like, oh yes, we're back again. But that doesn't last. It changes even
It's
after.
like a cycle, right?
Exactly. And in that
Mm.
cycle straight after your period, you're mostly embedded in masculine emotions of the whole cycle. And I always see how there's a part in that, there's an uprise in your in your physical energy that I so love. It also takes away some of the other elements that have later come to bloom that are much more about the sensitivity, the very deep caring empathy for whole humanity. Because when I'm in my physical energy, everything is well with me. I am less open to empathy of others because I'm just doing my thing. Well, okay, the world's a beautiful place, but I am doing my thing. So I'm not really bothered about other people. And I'm happy.
Yes, and you give yourself then permission, right? Instead of waiting for someone else to say, "Oh, go ahead, Elisabeth."
Oh, exactly. I'm no longer myself. I'm no longer thinking, oh, what would they? I overthink a lot, but not at those times. So I think
Women overthink. This is one of our qualities. We can think so well that we can get caught in that cycle of overthinking, which completely blocks us, right? When it takes too long.
Yeah. But then there's also this very really interesting part about the desire, which comes way more when ovulation is the level phase. And when my desire becomes higher, I also don't overthink a lot because my desire is so clear. And it's like, oh well, I'm just doing it. I'm going, I'm taking, it's not pushing, I'm just being pulled towards something, which also gives me a lot of energy. It's different. It's a very
But you feel it and you hear it and you listen to it and you act upon it, right? But I feel like so many, sorry, maybe not. Okay. No, forgive me, but what I wanted to say is that when you are really connected to yourself and to your feelings and to your emotions and your body and the wisdom and all our monthly inner cycles, it's, I wanted to say easier, but it's not easier to do or follow up or whatever pops up. But I think what is missing for a lot of us women and for a lot of us women who didn't learn or heard about this in our upbringings when we were young, to really be in tune with ourselves and to really be in tune with all of us and to not be judgmental with all those cycles and different hormones and desires and longings and self-gardening or not self-gardening. And this is interesting that I became more conscious about it since my middle one is becoming 11 this year.
Yeah.
So when I observe her and how she is exploring herself and her body and her identity, it was like, how was this when I was young? I cannot remember anything of it.
Really?
It feels as well there was not a lot of room and space for exploring. So that was really interesting as well to see, and as well that we live now as a family in Latin America, which is completely different than the area where I grew up, and where here it's always tropical weather, so people just dress less because it's too hot.
Yeah.
And of course, like in the Netherlands, in Europe, we have the seasons.
Yeah.
And with some seasons, you definitely want to dress up because otherwise you're really cold, right? So this is as well really interesting. to just see. And as well, that here, what I've noticed in almost living here 2 years is that women are so proud of their curvings.
The curves.
And no, the curves, yes. And no
Yeah.
matter how curved they are, they
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah.
It's everything is tight. The boobs are almost falling out. They do, bum implants. I've seen
Oh,
really interesting things, but they are proud. They walk with pride. They are like, here I am. So
mm,
for me as a mom, I think this is a great example for my girls. And we make fun with the youngest one that with the reggaeton music here, I call it like the bum music or shake your bum, shake your ass music. And our little one, she can do that as if she was born here. She
yeah.
can shake it like it's in her, it's already in her system.
Wow.
And as well, I cannot remember this when growing up. Because those movements, as well with belly dancing, it's as well our Kundalini, awakening our Kundalini, our sexual energy, our life force, right?
Yeah.
Which is with so many women, it's just blocked, it's locked,
Yeah.
it's hidden. It's like,
I think
it's there.
I think I had this kind of movement very young. Not, I remember hearing we had someone who helped clean our house, and
Mm-hmm.
she was really from a strong, very strict church, but she was
Mm-hmm.
actually a really uh, free spirit who sort of was trapped a little bit in that situation. But she one day saw me dancing on something, and she said, I heard her talk to my mom, and she said, I think Elisabeth will become a nun. Like, and I thought, like, what does that mean? I have no idea what it means. But somewhere in the way she talked about it made me feel very happy about myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I think she likes that. I have no idea what it means. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is it about nuns that I am not? So,
Mm-hmm. But this is about expressing ourselves freely, right?
yeah, yeah,
Expressing ourselves freely with no judgment.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it's almost like we can express ourselves freely when it's positive, right? When we set a good example. When
And
it's like,
also, it,
mm,
it's always people. It's people are really like, yeah, express yourself, but within the boundaries
mm-hmm,
that makes us comfortable. Because
which
when
is appropriate, right?
yeah, and when you
Mm-hmm,
express yourself, when you're a really big and luscious woman, or when it's like, yeah, but that's a bit much.
mm-hmm,
When you express yourself, when you're really skinny and you feel beautiful, and it's not in the right what other people can perceive like, yeah, but you should have curves or whatever. It's
mm-hmm,
just it doesn't fucking matter.
mm-hmm.
It's just really that is that inner goddess power what we are talking about. That it is a really deep energy. I once had it's also I love
And there is no one type of goddess, right?
exactly.
Doesn't
But what I
exist.
want to say is there was a woman once that she had her she had her gender, she changed her gender from
Mm,
a female, and every time when and she's so I was it was in the capacity of being when I was a speakers coach. So when I
mm,
heard her, and the moment she started speaking and she was really in her flow, her whole feminine energy came in and she became so beautiful all of a sudden. She forgot that she did not look so much, very much like that deep feminine energy that she felt. But the moment she was in her talk and she started to move like a woman, and her intonation changed, and I thought like, oh my God, now I get it. I get why you really needed to have this physical change into the woman that you've always felt you are. That is also so that goddess can be in a male and a female, and I think that you can have that, and sometimes it's, I don't know, because I also feel there's an inner God within me, and I want to be able to access both. But the inner goddess, my inner goddess, is most freeing for my expression. And yeah, so because my inner goddess is more badass than my inner god, in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but it's
like she's so clear and she can see through the illusions. And
yes.
it's like in the Netherlands, they say with babies that some babies are like old souls, and that when you look at them and they look at you, it's like almost they can look through you. They see your soul. They truly see who you are. But that's the goddess. She sees. She's aware. You cannot fool her. She's really present and powerful, and you cannot mess with her.
Oh yeah, that
And she's kind, she's loving, but she has strong boundaries. She doesn't feel guilty about it. She doesn't feel egocentric about it when she chooses herself, or when she chooses to express herself the way she wants to, the way that feels aligned, right?
Yeah.
She's just there. She's a powerhouse.
Yeah. Well, it's really, and let me just, maybe this is a good time to read that little story.
Yes.
Because what I liked, what I felt when I accessed that goddess power, because I've gone through huge changes within my relationship after my husband really felt that call inside, like, yeah, but I'm there's a homosexual side within me that wants to be expressed. And that changed a lot within our marriage. And so at this point we're still very much in a loving relationship, but it's a platonic now. And for now that is okay, but that is fine. Even I cannot say it is ideal, but for us it is what it is, and there's still it's a lifelong exploration, and it's always, is this still the right thing or is it not? And I do have my romantic love who is really, really opening me up to areas of layers of softness that I did not have before, that I was always a little bit reluctant to let my husband in, because I felt somewhere that I was not enough, that not enoughness, which was so freaking painful. That so you can have all those different parts of you, and I think by acknowledging all those different parts, that my inner goddess finally felt the power to come up and say, listen, you are someone, you deserve to be loved completely, fully, openly, and in the way that you want. So if that has to be different persons, let's just do it. Just say yes. And to me, that works. Is there something within me that says, oh, could it be one person, one big love with everything? Part of me is like, yes, yes, yes. But it's the reality is that I am who I am, and I love persons that I love. So
But you allow this.
I allow it, and it's also like, oh, let's explore life to the fullest. Let's just say yes to the opportunities that come on my way. So I can read this story.
But can I say one more thing about this? It's not only about the others, but it's as well really, really, I call it radical, powerful, loving our inner goddess ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It has two components, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which we shouldn't forget to mention. That it's not only about the others, but it's as well our deepest relationship with ourselves and our goddess.
Well, I think it starts with that.
I
Because
know.
what do you really have to offer someone if you don't have that inner relationship?
But the thing is, for us now, where we are in our lives now, that like it starts with us, right? Has become so normal, but maybe not for everyone. So that's why I wanted to point it out, right?
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
And the other thing I wanted to say is that the goddesses, they honor and they value and respect other goddesses. Because I am with my husband this year for 25 years. And he's the only one.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment between us.
No.
There's only respect, and there's only, I wanted to say sometimes excitement in sharing our things, but as well, like really openness and really, wow, that's so interesting how you do that, how you live your life, how that and that makes you happy.
Yeah.
And how it for me or vice versa can be the opposite. So it's like the women's circle. It's like the soul sisterhoods as well.
Absolutely. And there is not even a little thought in my mind that thinks what works for me works for another. Because that is the thing about being true to your expression, is that we all have a different way. And I truly celebrate when people come into their own expression, and when it's not my expression, it's like, let's have all the flavors.
Celebrating each other, right?
Yeah. So this story it's like a tip, and it's part of something that will be published soon. I'm just going to share it on this podcast. The story. It's called Call Back the Goddess. I still remember the look of delightful surprise on my first serious boyfriend's face. I was 15 and he was 5 years older, when my love for him met the depth of my full feminine sensual energy. Something so powerful streamed from my lips into his that I felt, for the first time, my ancient goddess power stirring within me. She was unashamed, fierce, loving, passionate, sexual, nurturing, playful, wise, and above all, radiating a sense of sacred sensual confidence. Between that first stirring and right before I turned 50, my inner goddess hid herself many times. I silenced her. It was too painful to invite her when lovers and boyfriends tried to tame or possess her. Or even worse, during the long periods when my husband didn't desire her at all. I'd started to believe that she was a disturbing energy. I just needed to learn not to be so much, not to be so passionate, didn't I? I tried to intellectualize, spiritualize, and work myself away from my own sensual goddess power. But when it turned out it had all been for nothing, she fully reclaimed her space. I trusted her voice and guidance. She taught me my sacred yes and my sacred no. I stopped being so afraid of my shadow aspects and integrated them with love. It was a wild ride that asked for a lot of attention, learning and untangling of old patterns that were like poison to my system. Slowly, I opened an energetic pathway for my own self-love and my beloved, the one whose presence can invite all of her into the space. My most precious discovery, however, is that she is me. Since inviting her back, my creative energy soared. My new romantic love has opened a sacred, delightful softness within me, and the platonic love between my husband and me is now a highly supportive source of joy. Having access to your full expression makes so much more possible. Find the courage to remember what part of you you've hidden away. Feel into it. Call your goddess back, darling. That's the piece.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
it is. It is. And I really stand for that.
Mm.
It is, we have given it, I've hit that goddess power so many times
Mm.
because I was afraid to be, to lose control.
Mm.
I was afraid to become an outcast.
Mm.
I was afraid that she would
Not be
over.
controlled.
Yeah,
That you couldn't control her, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
was really all the stories, the narrative that had
Mm.
about being a witch, being a slut, being too complicated, being too bossy, being too, all the twos,
Too
too,
much.
too
Mm-hmm.
much, too
Mm.
nurturing, too much love, too,
Mm.
too much openness.
Mm.
Keep it to yourself. Don't make it. Don't be so. Just tame yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
being tamed into something that is
That people can handle more.
yeah, yeah. And you know what,
Mm-hmm.
Martina? The whole spiritual movement has a very, to me, there's a very dark side in there as well, in the sense
Mm-hmm.
that it is about yes, I am deeply I'm deeply what it is inspired of being of service, but you need to be in service of your own being as well, because there's a purpose of you being here on this planet. And
Mm.
if you bypass your own expression, your own being, your own inner goddess, and you put it into work for people who claim to have the truth,
Mm.
and you have then to lie to yourself because other people make you feel ashamed of everything that you are. And instead of you having the time and the place and the space to explore who you truly are, uh, and then you have to become a sort of a fakery good person.
Mm.
And it's really it's not healthy, because it's like you then become someone who hides so much and tries to push down that ball of the ball underwater that your inner goddess is, who wants to, she wants to come up, she wants to be seen, she wants you as a woman, you really long, there's a the deep feminine within you wants to be seen. So
Instead of pleasing others.
exactly, instead of changing all the time into something that is accepted. So there needs to be something of a really deeply unapologetic service of yourself as well. And then comes out this beautiful, or even not beautiful. It can be ugly. Your inner goddess can look awful, but but the truth, there's a part of your inner truth that is so deeply connected to who you are and what your purpose and your mission and all that stuff that we go over from our head, but she's actually within your body. Every time when we try to bypass our body and bypass our emotions, and I feel an emotion, let's just meditate my emotion away, because I've done all that, and then
or our pain, or our sadness, or our angriness, all the emotions that we, or like society, has judgments around, right?
I know, and these emotions are here to help you navigate your truth, to navigate to your strength, to your true strength, and to show you you're not living from your truth. Because the moment that you live within your truth, you still can, the frustration ends. You can then, it's different than taking back control, but it is taking back the reins. It's like, okay, I can choose to
It's
live.
like, I always compare it to mastering. You become a master.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So there's so much more that we can talk about this whole stuff, because
I want to say something about the expression.
Yeah.
For example, when you look at children, they are really good in expressing their rage or their anger or deep grief because they lost a toy or someone destroyed a toy. And it's like, it's so intense. And I had it last night with my daughter. Her uncle and my husband's best friends left. They were 10 days with us. They left. And she was intensely sad, and she cried and she cried and she cried for 10 minutes. And I just held her in my arms. And after 10 minutes, she said, okay, I'm fine now. Thank you. I will go to sleep. And I think this is exactly what we are talking about, but what a lot of us have unlearned, right? To just express it. And when we allow ourselves to express it in the ugliness, or whatever word you give to it, it will pass. And we will be back to our true, peaceful, powerful goddess self. But if not, if we don't express it, because I always tell my husband, sometimes I love to cry, I love to get it out, which he doesn't understand, and that's okay. But I have told him now multiple times, this helps me. This is good for me. I'm a much nicer person when I get it out. Instead of, building it up, building it up, building it up. And then at one point it takes over and it has to get out. And it's not, we are at that point, we are not a master of ourselves at all, right?
I
And we
know.
cannot control it at all. But it's just, we have this knowledge, this wisdom is in our DNA the moment we were born on earth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love this conversation, and I agree there's so much more to talk about. Another episode.
Yeah. Agree.
And as well that every episode we discover more of each other, which is quite cool, right?
It is. And I am what you said about your daughter, I am so incredibly hopeful and trusting towards the future, because it's also when I looked at my daughter, of course, she has been brought up different because she's been brought up by me, by my husband. It's a new time. When I look at her, the way she does it exactly as your daughter. My daughter is already 26. But she could, if there was a big problem or anything, she would be sad. She would cry like, oh, all the floods were open, like 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, she would just like, it was out of her system. It was gone. Gone. There was no harboring anger or what. It was just gone. She could go on with her life, even when there were big things. And that could be, maybe she would needed to cry for a day. But when it was truly out of her system, but not only out of her system, but it gained so much consciousness. It's gaining. Why is it? Okay, I get it. I feel it. I'm allowing myself to. She's this beautiful, really outward as well, beautiful woman now, and it was just really these ugly tears, like snot coming, and then after it's done, and then comes back this face like, how did you move from being this to this? Like, what? This is what we can do when it's unleashed. And to me, that is all the fear that we have of becoming unhinged when we have our power, which is really a long patriarchal thing that we believe that has been imprinted for so many years. And when we get over that, when we take out that narrative completely, with every time we say yes to the truth of who we are and our expression, and the love, self-love that is in there, radical self-acceptance, then that will be taken away. That whole narrative of women are unhinged or hysterical or
hysterical. Wow. Oh my God, that word, it just only that word triggers me big time. It's interesting.
And it's interesting because I can be hysterical. It's okay. And when it's gone, it's gone. It's like, it's also, I like that in English, hysterical, it's also very funny. I think it's okay. We can make fun of ourselves sometimes.
Yes, we should laugh more about those kind of things of us.
Yeah. But then it's so I think this is truly, I have real confidence in another more empowered way that is growing. Although I can see, I normally, Martina, I am quite, I'm getting over that, but I'm still very careful where I tell my story about how my relationships are. Because people make so much assumption
Mm-hmm.
It's also very interesting that I still care if people have their opinion about it, because this is about people that I dearly love, and I
Mm-hmm.
crafted my life and my relationship with so much care and with so much um I don't know. So and every time when there's a little bit of a conversation, like it should be this, even from the people of the relationship gurus, like, yeah, when it's not this, it's not that. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
come on, people, let's
Mm-hmm.
explore this. Let's get out of the whole giving our own the validation of what is right for you, what is sacred for you,
Mm-hmm.
giving that away to people who all of a sudden become an authority of us. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
go away with your authority. I am the authority of me. Deal with
I
it.
know, but sometimes it can be so scary to be your own authority because it comes as well with responsibilities, right?
I know.
And when we say they are the authority, they know, somehow we put our own responsibility outside of ourselves back there, right? And it's
Exactly.
like, oh, and it's as well hiding, it's as well an excuse. And it's definitely an illusion.
Yeah. So this topic will be so triggering for some people. Oh, sorry.
Well, please talk
Yeah,
to us. Give us your thoughts about all of this, since we are just
yeah.
expressing our own experiences, our own feelings, the things we've seen, the things we are seeing, and what works for us. Because, if what works for us or what works for me or what works for Elizabeth might not work for you at all.
Exactly.
So please share what works for you.
Yeah. That would be great to have that topic, that conversation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
Until next time, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Ciao, dear.
bye.
Ciao.